Hello and welcome to Q&A Thursday. Fantastic to have you all here. We have got a jam-packed event for you today, so do not miss a thing. I'm really, really excited to have you guys here. We've had some pretty good questions come through the ask@teamleadertoolkit.com, so we've got some really great stuff to share with you. One question in particular that I'm happy to share with you, I got permission from the person who asked, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I think it's going to be really, really interesting because it's something that everybody has to contend with at some point. Okay, so really, really good. All right, so without further ado, I do want to make sure that you can see and hear me. So if you can put down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, yes, you can see and hear me, or howdy, or whatever, that would be fantastic. And then we can go from there. I just want to make sure that everyone can see and hear me. Okay, I'm just making sure everything's set up here. Okay. All right, can we see and hear me? Hey, Belinda, how you going? Hi, Sam, how are you? Fantastic. All right, have we got anybody else on the line? All right, so let's start. We can be seen and heard, so that's always a bonus. Okay, so as I said, I've got some really interesting stuff to share with you with regards to a great question that came through. So remember, if you do have a question, so please do not hesitate, put it in writing at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com and we will answer it within 24 hours with some tools or helpful handouts or tips and hints or whatever we can provide you with that will help that particular situation. And the other thing to be aware of too is that I will ask you if you'll be willing for me to share that in the webinar so that other people can benefit from your question. And that's what we bring to the webinars as part of our topics. So yeah, so let's make sure that we get that done. The other thing is we've got some new tools that are coming up on the tool suite, so make sure you keep your eyes open from that. There's some really great stuff coming down the line. You know, if you do meetings and you have to write agendas and things like that, then there's some really great templates that are coming up for you and some other bits and pieces, so watch out for those. The other thing I wanted to say was we are also looking, we got some great feedback from our friends at Ego with regards to putting some more downloadable tools. So all the text that you have on the screen, to have that as a downloadable workbook, we are absolutely making sure that we action that. So watch this space. We've got some of our quality people going through it, and we also have our graphic designers going through it, making it all look pretty. So watch this space. Okay, you ask and we deliver, so watch this space. Okay, so as I said, Q&A Thursday is my favorite day of the week. We've got some people online. You can see and hear me. We've got a great topic we're going to share with you today. So I will share my screen with you right now and let's get this underway. I'm excited. Right, you can see me down here. Fantastic. All right, so let's have a look at what the topic was today. And this was asked at the beginning of the week. So I have some members of my team that are underperforming. How do I have that difficult conversation? So this might be something that you have already come across. So, you know, it can be frustrating. It can be time consuming. It can do lots and lots of things to be a real bugbear for you, to deal with people that are either underperforming or have behavioural issues or something, because it takes that extra amount of effort for you to be able to support that person and get them back on to where they need to be. And that takes a lot of time, right? The other thing is it can demoralize other people on your team as well. So if they see somebody not pulling their weight and they have to do extra things, then that's only going to be okay for a little while. And then all of a sudden things are going to start to, you know, create resentment and things like that. So it's really something that we have to nip in the bud early, get on top of really, really quickly and have those crucial conversations as much as we sometimes try to avoid them. It's really, really important that we have them. All right, so let me tell you about what not to do. Do not ignore it. So often I have seen these things go unaddressed for so long. You might find you have become a leader of a team who has quite a few underperformers in it that has never been addressed. And now you get lumbered with that difficult task of trying to coach these people to the standard where you need them to be, or at least start having those crucial conversations with them. And let me tell you, most performance problems, you know, if they aren't dealt with directly, then they're not going to get any better. Okay, they're just not going to improve. So you can either decide to deal with that and get the people on your team that you need to be at a particular standard, or, you know, if you're going to put up with it, then that's something that, you know, you're going to pass that legacy on to the next leader that takes over your team. So there's two things that normally happens with this. So if you've got an underperformer in your team, or maybe several underperformers on the team, what I've seen happen is either a leader will try and transfer that person out, so then somebody else gets lumbered with that person. Now, the only time that works is if we've decided what their strengths are and they're in a role that is not leveraging off their strengths. So, for example, if you've got somebody who is working on a piece of kit, a piece of machinery, but actually their strengths are in IT and computer-based stuff, if you put them in the role that matches their strengths, then yes, let's transfer those people and get them leveraging off the strengths. But if you're just transferring them because they're a problem to you and you don't want them to be that problem anymore, then that's not going to work. Okay, so we have to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons if we are going to transfer them. And the second thing that I've seen done a lot is people just don't do anything about it. You know, everybody else on the team gets used to, you know, picking up the slack, and, you know, it's a running joke that Sally or Fred are, you know, doing the bare minimum, if anything at all, or whatever. We don't want that either. Okay, you want a high performing team, and to get a high performing team that you deserve, you need to ensure that you're doing what you can to make sure they're the best that they can be. So remember, these situations do not resolve themselves, so it's something that you need to have intervention with. And you need to do that as soon as possible. So the sooner you can get intervention and solve this issue, then the better off it's going to be. The longer it's kept going, then the more difficult it is to try and change someone's expectations and change. So, yeah, just make sure you bite that bullet. And talking about biting the bullet, that's our next one. So it's critical to have those conversations about expectations. So remember in module 1, when we talk about expectations of our manager and our manager expectations of us, that's almost setting up that foundation so that if you start to fall below those expectations, or your manager starts to fall below those expectations, you've got something to base that conversation from. You can go into there and say, hey boss, how you going? Hey, listen, a couple of weeks ago we talked about expectations, and I said to you that you know, to get the best that I can do, I need to have access to you once a fortnight. And unfortunately, the last 5 weeks, I haven't been able to get hold of you. So now I'm starting to feel like I'm not being the best I can be. How can we sort this around? So you can have that conversation because you've already based what the expectations should be. In module 2, if you're up to that, then it's all about setting expectations with your team, and then your team telling you what they need from you. And this is where that is absolutely crucial to set up your foundational sort of level of being able to move from there. So you make sure that you've set your expectations with your team. What are your expectations? What's the everyday norm? What do you desire them to be? What are their KPIs? You know, all those sorts of things need to be done up front. So make sure you do that activity. And also, you know, if we have to have conversations ongoing from that, then please don't hesitate in doing those. Don't leave it too long. Don't procrastinate about them. Get onto them, and we'll talk about how you can have those conversations in a minute. But the longer you keep them, the more liable it's going to be really, really difficult to change that particular situation. A lot of team leaders that I've spoken to fear having those conversations for a number of reasons. Number one, it could be they fear it because they're worried about what the team members' reaction is going to be, whether they'll be upset or angry or confused or frustrated or, just not like you anymore. So that's one reason why people do it. Or avoid it. And the second one is having those difficult conversations where somebody is going to be probably not happy about what the conversation is going to be about. It obviously puts that in us in a really uncomfortable position. So it doesn't feel right for us to do that. We want to be everyone's best friend, and that's not what your job is as a leader, unfortunately. So we have to make sure that we have these conversations, and so we need to bite that bullet and get onto it straight away as soon as we can. All right, so what do we do? So how do we have these conversations? Well, it's a great question. So let's have a look at it. What do we need to do? We need to prepare. And I can't emphasize this enough. So if somebody is, underperforming, then they haven't just suddenly started underperforming an hour ago. This is something that's been going for a while and it's caught your eye. So you do have time to prepare for this. If it's a behavioural type issue, so you walk into the lunchroom and somebody's bloody, bullying somebody else or whatever, you may need to get onto that straight away. So your preparation time may be less. Okay, so you need to jump on it straight away and say, hey, Bob, I saw that. We need to have a chat. Be in my office in 15 minutes. Thanks very much. I'll see you there. So then you've got like 15 minutes to prepare to have that conversation. But if it's something there's somebody underperforming, then that's something that you might have to do. You will have enough time to prepare. And what I mean to prepare is download the tools that are available to you. So you've got a difficult discussion planner on your tool suite. You've also got a poor performance planner, or somewhat trying to bring somebody up on their performance planner as well. And those conversation planners help guide you on how to start the conversation, how to finish the conversation, what to put in the middle, how to take the emotion out of it, all those sorts of things. So download those tools and have a crack at writing them out and preparing for that. Also, you don't want to pull your team members in with just, the couple of things you've observed. There might be some other stuff that other people observed, or people have come to you, or that person might have been working on a project for another department and you've heard feedback from that. So there's lots of things that you need to pull together to show that there has been a consistency of this particular behaviour or poor performance. So you need to be able to nip it in the bud. So what that conversation is, we're trying to set our team members up for success, right? We're not going to slap them on the wrist or tell them they're rubbish or whatever. This is us trying to support them to say, we know that, you've struggled with this particular task. We know that this is something that, you haven't done in the past. So we want to support you. How can we support you? Do you need more training? Do you need a coach? Do you need someone to shadow you? Do you need to shadow somebody else? What are the things that we can do to help you? Because we can't keep going down this same path. So what do we need to be able to help you get to where you need to be? So download those conversation planners, and I'll show you that in a little while, but download those and they'll help you. Well, so what's the next thing that we need to do? It's interesting stuff. All right. So the next thing is we want to be positive. So as I said to you, this is not about, bollocksing somebody or telling them that they're crap, right? This is about saying that you want to set your people up for success. To do that, you need to try and coach them, mentor them, support them, do the stuff that they need to do up front, because this is not down the road where you've had these coaching conversations, you've supported them, you've given them training, you've mentored, they've had somebody shadow them, and then they're still not performing. That would be a more disciplinary chat. But this chat is, this is the more supportive one, and that's how we start all this off. So what I want you to do is put yourself in their shoes. So how would you want this information delivered to you if you feel like there's something in your workplace, whether it be a task or whatever, that is suddenly, you're not doing very well? You would know that in yourself, you would think, but how would you want somebody to, relay that information to you. So put yourself in their shoes a little bit, and avoid language like, don't go up to them and say, excuse me, we need to go and have a disciplinary meeting, so come and meet me in my office in an hour. You don't want that, right? It's just hey, let's have a quick chat. I'd really love to have a chat to you about some bits and pieces that I've been thinking about with regards to supporting you in your current task. Let's go and have a chat about it. Okay, so it's that positivity slant on everything. So the other thing that we need to check too is that we've got the right setting. So if you're having a conversation about somebody who might be struggling with a particular task or whatever, then it's okay to have it in your office. That's fine. Look, if you can be on the same side of the desk, that's great, not having that barrier in between, but sometimes that makes people feel uncomfortable as well. So you've just got to know your people, know what's going to make them feel comfortable or not. If it's just a quick chat, maybe going out and having a coffee somewhere might be most appropriate. But if it's a serious type of discussion, then maybe a cup of coffee is not appropriate. So if you're delivering a bit more of a formal counselling, if you've gone down the road a little bit and this is like conversation number 4 and it's getting a bit more formal, then, you don't want to do that while having a coffee in a busy cafe. You want to do that in a setting, whether it be a conference room or a meeting room or your office or something. But anyway, choose a safe environment where everybody feels comfortable. That's the main thing, that everybody feels comfortable and everyone feels quite like in a safe, comfortable environment. So make sure you have a think about where that can be. So the next thing, so a lot of people have asked me, should I have a witness? And I said, it depends what sort of chat you're having. If you're having just a quick chat because you want to nip something in the bud quickly, or you want to ask some questions, or you want to seek to understand why this person's sort of, dragging their feet a little bit, no, you don't need a witness. Okay, that's fine. But if you are dealing with policy violations or behavioural issues or anything that might go and move into a more disciplinary type action down the track, then absolutely you need to have a witness in there with you. So you can have your on-site HR coordinator, or you can have another manager or another leader come in there with you, but don't ever pick a team member from your team, like one of their peers, right? So they don't want to be subjected to other peers knowing what's going on or privy to that information. So make sure it's either a HR person, an admin person, or another team leader like yourself. And that third party really should be briefed that they're clear about what their roles and responsibility is. And really a witness in there is really to take notes of the conversation. And you would say that up front. You would get into the office and say, look, I've brought Bob with me. Bob is from our admin, he's the EA or whatever in the admin section. Bob's just here to jot some notes down about this conversation, because as you know, we've met 4 times before. This is just getting a little bit formal now, so we need to jot down the information. And that's what Bob's job would be, is to jot down, who said what. So make sure that you have got those roles sorted out beforehand, because you don't want Bob interjecting every time something's said. That's not what a third party witness will do. All right. Okay. So the next thing that you want to know is, what tools have I got to help me? Well, as I said, you've got your difficult discussion planner, which is available to you now on the tool suite. So download that and have a read of it. Even if you don't have a difficult discussion coming up, download it, have a read of it, and see how it could have helped you in the past. You won't be able to read that on your screen, but it is on the Team Leader Toolkit tool suite right now. So if you get into the unlocking portal, if you actually scroll right down to the bottom or second bottom, you'll see tool suite there. You have all the available tools. They're available to you 24/7. So I think there's 18 to 20 tools on there, depending on where you are. So have a look there, and you'll see a difficult discussion planner and an increased performance or a poor performance planner as well. So download both of those tools, have a read of them, see how it would try and head you into having a conversation that's really positive and robust and less emotive, and hopefully that should help you. All right. Okay, so how did we go Not easy to have those discussions, I know. It can be messy. It can be really, really difficult to understand when you need to come in there and have a little crack. But I would suggest keep going with it and make sure you do have those conversations as early as possible to sort of nip anything in the bud. And remember that module 1 and module 2 of setting expectations gives you that foundation to say, hey, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You were present in that meeting. You heard us saying it. So I'm going to reiterate to you what my expectations are. So there's no confusion. So you can always build on that. Okay. All right. So let me get you back because I think that's all we've got. And pretty much it's around question time for you now. So do you have any questions for me? Is there any questions on the current presentation that we already had? Is there any sort of questions that you might have for anything else? So whatever you can, just ask me what you need. And I will wait online and just make sure that is, I'm just making sure you can, I've still got people on the, yes. Okay, so, all right. So Sam, Belinda, and I know there's another couple online that haven't told me they're there. Have you got anything from me or for me, whether it be stuff about the stuff that we've spoken about today or whether it be anything else? So if you've got anything for me, just let me know and we will have a bit of a chat about it. All right. None from you, Sam. Okay. No worries. Anything from anybody else? We had a couple of questions come through late this week. Yesterday I had a question come through, which I might share with you next week if I get the chance. And that's a doozy. That's a good one too. So make sure you dial in for that one. I think it's something that everybody would appreciate some information on. So make sure you dial in on that one. And without further ado, I think we're okay. Belinda, are you okay? Sam's okay? Some people might have logged off. All right. Okay. Listen, guys, take care. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a wonderful weekend coming up. I will catch you next Thursday for Q&A Thursday, my favourite day of the week. Take care. Get into that unlocking portal. Have a crack at all those things. I know you can do it. I'm here for you. If you've got any questions for me, get onto the email, ask@teamleadertoolkit.com, and we will answer you straight away. Betty, hi, Betty from Hong Kong. Great to see you. Have you got any questions for me, Betty, before we sign off today? Wow, it's a late one from you from Hong Kong. I don't know what time it is on Hong Kong, but I don't think it's a nice time. I don't think it's in working hour time. So thanks for joining us, Betty. All right. Not a question. Fantastic. All right, Betty. Well, thank you for joining us. And thank you, Sam. Thank you, Belinda. And thank you for the others that haven't actually typed in. That's fine. I will see you very shortly. Thanks. All right. Only 2 hours after my, oh, that's not too bad then, Betty. So it's not like horrible hours. So you're okay. Thank you for joining us. We will see you, Belinda, Sam, Betty. We will see you, and everybody else who has logged on. We will see you next week. We've got a killer on next week, so don't miss it, and have a fantastic day. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Betty. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Belinda. Thanks, everyone else. We will see you next week. Cheers. Bye for now.